Welcome to Diligent Canine, and in this video I'm going to teach you how to teach your dog the send out or run out to something command. One way to think about the send out command is like a long place command or a long touch command. I made a video about those, how those are really very similar, and so if a place command is an extension of a touch command, then the next progression is the send out command. So rather than telling the dog to go to a place like a bed or get out of the way of something and move like within an arm's reach radius where you might be able to gesture to tell the dog to go to its place, you instead tell the dog to go out to something at a distance. So you're still telling them to go to a place, but it's usually to the end of a barrier, or at least that's the way that the initial training is done, which is what I'm showing here. And the idea is that that barrier gets further and further and further away, so the dog is learning that it just needs to run and keep running until there is a barrier. So if you haven't taught your dog to touch or go to a place, you're going to need to do that first, because those tools and those principles are going to be used, whether that is a place, a crate mat that you're using, or an overturned water bowl for a touch command. You're going to need one of those two things to go any further with a send out command. As I've mentioned before, the language or the word that you use to signal to your dog that you want them to run out, the actual command you use, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the word that you use. It doesn't matter what language you use. So in my case, I use the command run. In other words, I want the dog to run to something. I try to use commands that will be both clear phonetically for my dog, so they don't get it confused with other commands. So it should be short, like one, maybe two syllables, and it should be phonetically different or distinct from other commands so that it won't get mixed up or confused. It also needs to be something easy for me to remember. So whatever it is that you want, you could use run, you could use go, any of that is totally okay, but I use run. So let's get into it. I taught my dog how to do this with a couple of just regular old dinner table placemats. They're not quite as good. Actually, I think when I first taught a touch command, I just threw some books on or magazines on the ground and did it that way. But it is important to have some kind of marker. The dogs can tell the tactile difference between the carpet on your floor or the dirt floor or what have you, and the target that they're supposed to be standing on. So I talked about this a little bit more in the touch and place video, and this is the first example of why that touch command is really critical, because it's how we teach our dog to jump over things. We teach our dog to run out to things, because they already know that this blue thing, in my dog's case, means that I'm supposed to put my front two paws on it. So consistency is important there as well. So let's take a look at that touch command. Again, this is a good way just to start a warm-up in your training session for the send out. You can see I'm doing it right here in my living room, so you can as well. Touch. Yes. Marking and rewarding as soon as his front paws touch the place. Yes. And if I can help it, I didn't do it there, but I'm luring him off of it when I reward. Touch. Yes. So as I reward, he's coming off, and that just is helpful because it means I can do repetitions really fast, back to back to back to back. Touch. Yes. Like so. Touch. Yes. Touch. Yes. Touch. Yes. I had to adjust the camera angle here so that you can see a long view. After all, we are doing a send out, so I need to be able to show that. So the next step is to have two of the target, the place or touch targets that you're using. And again, 10, 12-inch dinner placemats work well. Overturned water bowls work well. If you need any other suggestions or ideas, shoot me a DM. So for this, we're gonna bounce back and forth between 2 touch commands. So I've got these maybe just about 3 or 4 feet apart or so, about a little more than the length of the dog. And again, that is gonna be so, just like in the first clip, I can reward the dog off of one target, bring him right back to the next one. Reward him off of it, bring him right back to the other one. So we're essentially going to be ping-ponging back and forth here with touch commands. Touch. Yes. Touch. Yes. Touch. Yes. Touch. Yes. And again, I can fade my lures, so nothing in my hands. Touch. Yes. Touch. Yes. Okay. Place. Seats. Good. And then the next step is to create a little more distance between the targets. Whoa. Seats. Good. Touch. Yes. Touch. Yes. Touch. Yes. You could add a couple variable reward schedule and add a couple touches. Touch. 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 Yes. Before you give a reward. And that is helpful as well. Keeps the dog guessing. Touch. Yes. Touch. Touch. Yes. After you've got a couple steps distance between the touch targets, so about the length of a room, you can start to use one as the start place and the other as the target that you're sending the dog to. Again, I like to warm up with these kind of like back to back to back to back to back to back with the distance growing and growing and growing, so the dog has an immediate association. We're of course going to repeat training sessions to build long-term associations, but there's also a short-term association in each individual session where the dog is like, okay, I'm getting the hang of this, I'm going to this thing, to that thing, to this thing, to that thing. And then when I finally add a verbal command or a hand gesture to it, it's not a surprise to the dog. It's really just like triggering the thing that he already knows he's been doing, because he's been doing it for the last 5 or 10 minutes, however long your session or this video has been running so far. So you won't be able to see, but the one touchpad is right next to my foot, right down here. And the other one is, of course, back against the wall over there. So actually, I'm gonna scoot it closer. I just talked about growing the distance, but now when I use one as a start and the other as an end marker, I'm gonna shorten that distance just to remind the dog this is what you're supposed to do. So, touch. Good. Run. Yes. And I'm marking and rewarding as soon as both feet, again, just like the touch command, as soon as both feet hit the blue pad, that's when I want to mark and reward. Run. Yes. Now I can start to grow the distance. Run. Yes. Go a little more. Place. Run. Yes. And once I'm back about as far as I can go in my room here, touch. Good. Run. Yes. I can change the directions. So I can move back over here, touch. Good. Run. Yes. Like so. So I hope you enjoyed this video. That's how to teach the basics of a send out command. Please remember to subscribe on patreon.com/diligentcanine to support military and working dogs.